I'm in your hands.
So my first question to you is, how and why did you come to be the parliamentary candidate for Harlow in 1983?
Because they were desperate. They were absolutely desperate. They said to me, do you want to be an MP? I said, nope. Have you got any interest in being MP? Nope. Please. No, I don't want to do it. And then they said, well, look, you can't possibly win Harlow. It's impossible. It is sea of red. Just take 3 weeks off, or however long it is, and we'll sort you out. And you might get a taste for it. I said, yeah, all right then. Anyway, so I had to go for selection, but I wasn't even on the candidates list. I'd never been, because I wasn't interested in doing anything like that. And I came up against one or two people who, they're probably dead now, but they were rather odd in their interviews. And then suddenly I found myself selected. But everyone said, don't worry, you can't possibly win. But then I got interested in the local press. It was the Harlow Gazette in those days. And the lady who used to report me, I'm trying to think of her name now. She became press secretary to the Queen.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes. Now, what's her... Oh, gosh. She's now Lady something or other. And she's now press secretary to the Archbishop of Canterbury. Because she can see the way things are moving. So anyway, that was it. And I got to know Harlow. And I only lived down the road. I lived in Bishop Stortford in those days.
Okay.
And I was born and bred in Epping. So it wasn't all that far away. So that's how it was. Desperation for others.
Right, but you became MP for Harlow at the election in 1983.
Yep.
John Powley, the Labour guy, the Conservative guy,
Yeah.
he'd already secured a 13% swing that way in the previous election. But you deprived Stan Newens of his seat. Why do you think that was?
Oh, two, maybe three reasons. Margaret Thatcher, who I never cared for very much.
She didn't like your yellow ties.
No, I used to wear them to annoy her. What was the other reason? Council House sales, which is very important. And of course, we're on the tail end of the Falklands War. So for that first election, it was very little to do with me. You've got a big national swing. Stan Newens, still alive, and I hope you get the opportunity of speaking to him. He's a really good guy, very nice guy. I remember in my speech, acceptance speech, if you call it that, I said, Stan Newens has been a fantastic MP for Harlow, which he was, a good constituency man. And at the end of the day, Stan, you didn't let Harlow down, the Labour Party did. And he's a good man. We became good friends.
Right. So originally, at the first election, you think it was actually the national trend, which it was.
It was. After that, I worked really, 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 really hard.
You had a reputation for working with
Yeah, of course. Helped obviously by my wife Alison, who was my secretary, who turned things around pretty quickly. But I think they wanted someone who would not be party political apart from in election time. And I really do despise party politics. I really do despise it. No one party has got the monopoly on the truth or the right ideas. And so I tried to make Harlow, apart from the general election time, which is a ghastly experience, I tried to make it a non-party political zone.
Fair enough. And where are we going? Harlow is a new town, and it was established 70 years ago, which is why we're here to talk today. And it was, established to cope with the housing issues post-war and some local housing issues. It may not seem to be naturally Tory country.
It's not.
You have a reputation for being rather to the left of the Tory party.
Yes.
And also a personality where you're able to laugh with people from all backgrounds.
Yeah.
And are capable of laughing at yourself. Would you agree with all that?
I would. I think it's very important to laugh.
How much do you think this contributed to your long period?
I think
16
it did.
years?
I think after 83, it made a tremendous difference, actually. But then 97 came along. You can't beat a swing in the same reason now that Labour's in deep trouble, because you can't beat a national swing. But I think you've just got to be true to yourself, really. And there's nothing worse than all these people who want to be MPs from the age of 15, and then they want to crawl up the greasy pole by kicking people's heads on the way up, not realising that the people you kicked when you're coming down, they're going up. So I was never dreadfully ambitious.
You had a reputation for working tirelessly for your constituents,
Yeah, of
but
course,
did you
that's my
spend a
job.
lot of time in Harlow?
Oh yeah,
So
of
you
course. It was
spent a
not
lot of
far.
time
Yeah,
meeting people.
Yeah. And that's the fun side of the job. A lot of people, particularly stupid young men who just become elected, they think what the people of Harlow, or wherever you're elected for, are interested in your views on defence, foreign policy, and the economy. They're not. They want someone with basically a middle class education, common sense, bit of hard work, batting for them. Whether they haven't got their social security payments through, whether it's because their housing is non-existent, whether their school is rubbish or they can't get their child. That's what you're there for. That's the whole point. If you forget that, go and do something else.
Leading on from that, what do you consider was your greatest contribution for the people of Harlow during your time as their MP?
God knows. I don't know. I wish I could. I should have a. See, if I was a real professional politician, I would say, I'm glad you asked me that question.
You
Julie.
would.
Here are my top 5. Well, I suppose one could say it was standing up for, God, it sounds so cliche now, but standing up just for the underdog, for ordinary people who had serious problems, which I was able to help with. But I can't think of any particular project. I really can't think. And health service as well. I was always very keen on the health service, and there were a whole load of rebellions against Margaret Thatcher.
The Sex Offences Act. You were
that
very
was
key on that.
Yeah, but again, that was purely by chance, actually.
People benefit from that today.
Oh, they do actually.
More and more people coming forward now to reveal problems that they've had in the past, and that they can have that immunity. Perhaps encourages them to come forward.
Could well be. Yeah, I think so at the time. I just thought it was an interesting piece of legislation to put through Parliament. The Health and Medicines Bill was very important to me because this was one of those bills. You have things called standing committees where you put MPs on, and the idea is the government members keep quiet and you let the opposition talk. Anyway, I made the mistake of reading the bill, and the bill, it was pretty dreadful. And the reason I was put on is because I knew nothing about health, and it was all about. People have forgotten about it now. It was about charging people for the sight test, because in the past it was free. Charging people for a dental check, including pensioners and including student nurses, and it's ridiculous. A lot of people went blind as a result of that because diseases of the eye are silent. And I reduced the government's majority from 140, I think it was, to 4, and nearly won it in the House of Lords.
Excellent. So that's a contribution.
Oh gosh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
When you were MP for Harlow, a number of pharmaceutical companies enjoyed facilities in the town. They brought eminent scientists to the region. Beecham's became SmithKline Beecham and expanded and improved their facilities.
Merckshop and Dome, I think. I don't know whether they're still there.
Down on the Sawbridgeworth Road. But there's now a huge investment in supporting science and technology development in the town.
Yeah.
Science Park is up and running. Public Health England will relocate into world-class public health labs from Porton Down. And the KO Park Data Centre offers great technological space.
From Porton Down?
Yeah.
Has there been an outcry about that? You know what's made it? Germ warfare, Porton Down.
No, but they're bringing all of their stuff to Harlow eventually.
Whoa.
We've got state-of-the-art labs there.
Yeah, but that is a story in itself.
It is indeed. But we're aware that only just up the road, up the M11, the incredible expansion of the science parks and of the Addenbrooke site, the coming of Papworth, has made the city very affluent, with a huge impact on housing prices and education provision. Do you see this happening in Harlow?
Yes, of course I do. Harlow's always had fantastic potential because we can attract the right sort of people because it's near to London, so they can commute to really good jobs in London if they want to. There's always been, of course, the old industrial, when I was there was smokestack industries were just dying. And so they've got great swathes of sort of closed factories. That's changed now. That's turned to a lot of retail. And then SmithKline Beecham, they'd always had a small presence there. I don't know whether is Raytheon still there. Marconi, is Marconi still there?
I think Marconi is.
Yeah, there was another one. I can't remember the name of it. No, we had the big laboratories which used to research into oh gosh, now what were they called? 3M. They were called the 3M laboratories. I don't know whether they're still there. They used to do stuff on polymers. And then there was another big technology. I can't remember what they changed names so many times. But even in my day, it was moving that way.
Yes.
So yeah, the answer is it's great potential. Great potential.
It makes you quite excited.
Yeah.
If the Conservatives return to government and Theresa May allows the creation of new grammar schools, it is thought that at least one secondary school in Harlow would become academically selective. How do you think this would benefit the young people in Harlow?
In no way whatsoever. I am totally and utterly against selective education. I'm totally and utterly against, not grammar schools. We've got about 63, no, I think it's 63 in Canberra, I can't remember. There are a number of grammar schools. Leave them alone. But 80% of kids are rejected from grammar schools. What we should be doing is upping the standards of every single school and not diverting funds to grammar schools, which don't help social mobility in any way, shape or form. They become magnets for the middle classes.
Robert Heltham, who will be defending his seat at the next election, describes Harlow as a town of aspiration. Do you think this is a fair description? And do you think that statement could have applied to your time in Harlow?
Yeah, of course it would. It was always sort of white band man, wasn't it, really? Yeah, always been a town of aspiration. That's really what first changed things for the Conservatives. When I first came there, you can check this out, I'm not quite sure whether this is completely accurate, but I don't think there was a single Conservative councillor when I was first there. Now they've got control of the council again.
Control.
Yeah.
Last week.
Yeah, well, I just hope they don't mess it up, because it's all very well making all these promises. You've got to keep them, otherwise the electorate will never forgive you.
Can you remember any constituents who made a lasting impression on you? For instance, I can remember, I understand, a member of the Iron Maiden band lived on your patch, and you were able to put in a word for them at the Foreign Office when they had difficulty getting permission to play in Berwick.
You read the book. Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, not that. There was some quite mad people who used to come to my surgeries. There was one old boy who. Can't remember his name. Was very well dead, but just in case on the off chance he's alive, you better not mention his name. But he believed that he was a freeholder in his house. Of course, it wasn't. It was owned by the local authority, but he called it the freeholder and refused to pay any rent. And he used to have interesting little spats. But I remember one particular constituent who I will never, ever, ever forget. It was a little girl called Leanne. Her parents came to me. She was dying, and she went on a trip to Greece, and she became very, very, very unwell. They had medical insurance. They got a certificate from the doctor she was fit to travel. It was the Chubb organisation at the time. They didn't provide the support they promised. He had to take this dying girl back on the plane. None of the other members of the family were allowed on that plane at all because there wasn't the room. They should have had an air ambulance. That was part of the deal. And he was having to administer opium suppositories on this poor child who eventually died. It was an appalling case, and they got the runaround from that particular insurance company. And I had a debate in the House of Commons, actually. Sadly, she died. But a lovely, lovely family. And Harlow is full of lovely families like that. There is, every road you go to, there will be a story, not quite like that, but the job of the MP is to try and sort those sort of things out. There are lots of people who have moved me.
You're known for supporting minority groups.
Yeah.
Harlow has seen an influx of Polish immigrants since they joined the EU in 2004. The sad death of a member of the Polish community recently in Harlow shocked the town. Do you think this could be a problem for Harlow, especially as they did vote to leave Europe by a small majority?
Yeah.
What do you think could be done to suppress any rise in racism in the town? Or was this an issue for you?
But this was an issue for me because there was a big, I say big, but there was certainly but a significant number of National Front people in Harlow who used to cause all sorts of trouble. There were fire bombings in my day. So you've always had that little undercurrent. But regarding the Poles, the Poles have been in Harlow since the very start because they were leftovers from the war. They'd stayed here, they'd fought for this country. And there will always
There's
be.
that beautiful church, isn't there?
Yeah, that's great. I remember there was a guy who was an inventor called George Hookler. And I remember we had a ministerial visit, it was Kenneth Bacon, he was Minister for Technology or something like that. And George, this is a long time ago, had developed this thing to feed cats when you're on holiday. And Ken Baker invested in it. I don't know what happened. George is well dead now. But it's always been a Polish contingent, always been. Racism, I find it almost impossible to understand because the Poles, like so many others from Europe, are really, really hard working. They pay their taxes. In fact, people who come from Europe pay £4.5 billion worth of taxes and less likely to claim benefits when they're allowed to than British people. Don't get it.
So what do you think can be done?
Well, it's not a problem with the Poles because it's integration. It's more of a problem from people from the Indian subcontinent, which is not a particular, there's not a large Indian or Pakistani community in Harlow. It's not large. And there's no separation. But when you've got places like Bradford, where there was an effective apartheid because one community didn't speak any English at all and were afraid of the other community and vice versa. So there's got to be more integration.
Excellent.
So people feel less threatened. Both sides.
How do you think leaving Europe will affect the people of Harlow? Would you have predicted a leave vote from your time in the town?
I would have predicted that perhaps a lot of people in Harlow would have done because there was quite a big UKIP influence. Basically, if you like, the old, you used to call it the old Afghan vote, the working class Tory, or very much working class Labour, who can be quite right wing, in regards in immigration. Yeah, I'd have thought they probably would have voted for it. I think it means we're all going to hell in a handcart and it's going to be a lot slower than we thought. But it is a disaster, an absolute disaster. The people have spoken. Wow.
Harlow has become the first world sculpture town in the last decade. How do you think that benefits the area? What other changes have you seen since you finished your time there?
Wow. Now, it's always been sculpture because of Pat Gibbard, Lady Gibbard. And I met Freddie Gibbard, actually, who was the master planner. And also, the Harvey Centre, that was named after Ben Hyde Harvey, who I knew. Great guys. And Pat was very keen on architecture. And she put, there's lots of, I don't know what happened to them. I don't think people in those days particularly appreciated one bit of Hepworth, which was in the market area in one of the stall halls. You could put his bucket on the top of her head, But there was a lot of fine sculpture. Yeah, that's good. I think that's very good.
Excellent. Parliamentary boundaries are to be redefined.
Oh, are they?
Do you think this is a good move, and will it benefit the Tories?
I don't know. Can you tell me the moves? Because I just don't know.
I don't know the exact moves, but they're going to be bigger areas taking in, so it will be more even. So the country will be divided up in a more even way.
But it depends which bits. You see, if you lose Nazing and Roydon, they tend to be Tory areas. North Wales was as well. I lost that in the last set of boundary changes. What Rob has got now is something I didn't have, which is Church Langley and places like that, which were effectively middle class areas, which are either one Tory or Liberal Democrat, and that's built in. That's why he's got a majority of about, I think it's 8,000 or something like that. And the most I ever had was 6,000.
Yeah.
So I just don't know.
Would you like to see more extensive changes over boundaries? Would you like to see proportional representation introduced, or do you think first past the post works very well?
It works well. I don't say it works very well, but it works, and people understand it because they want a straight choice of whether we can kick a government out or not, or whether we can punish a party. But that's really the essence of it. Proportional representation, and I know this is terribly party political, but you get lots of UKIP members of what you would have done, lots of minority members of Parliament, which is not terribly good, and also, at least when I was the MP, and Rob is now, he is responsible for the problems of his constituents. He is accountable to them. Proportional representation. You're not accountable to anyone except for the people who select you for the party list. It's true.
Robert Halford has increased his majority in recent elections, and the recent success of the Conservatives in the local elections must increase his confidence. If you were able to give him one piece of advice, what would it be?
Don't increase your confidence as a result of the local elections. Be prepared to expect the unexpected. Excellent. You just do not know. I mean, Tories were online to do rather well after the '92 election. Things went rather wrong in the economy and various other areas. And then John Smith died, and a chap called Tony Blair came along. Don't take anything for granted. Grab every last vote, and beware of the Liberal Democrats. So a lot of my friends who are lifelong Tories, they're so fed up about what happened on Brexit, they will vote for the Democrats. They're not going to win power or anything like that, but if they were leaders of the opposition, if they replaced Labour, I'd be more than happy.
What do you miss about being an MP?
Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing, because I do a lot of press, I do a lot of work, journalism and TV, not so much TV now, but a lot of radio. So, and I've got my old gits pass for the House of Commons, so I can go and see my mates, which tend to be more journalists than politicians. And I don't have to have every weekend be nice to people. Well, I'm nice to people, but just the rubber chicken circuit, I'm just awful. I think people are mad who want to do it.
And now, of course, the unexpected. If you were a fruit, what fruit would you be?
Oh, for God's sake! Oh! You see, now the thing is, if I had been holding high office, I would have been prepared for this. Some researcher would have done a poll of what is the most attractive fruit. A lime.
A lime, and why would that be?
Because I can put it in a large gin and tonic.
Excellent answer. Okay, thank you very much, Jerry.
That's all right.